to fix under, I think it's page 7, subject to their budget. And the best example is, suppose a city or municipality or even the state decides that for other budget concerns that they want to divert public funds someplace else. Instead of fixing, as an example, in this case, ADA issues, that basically, if they choose not to make it a budgeted item, that somehow that relieves them of any type of liability.
Mr. Groff, any response, if you understand this point?
I'm not sure that I do. I think that it's plainly true that the cost of modifications is relevant to determining whether they're reasonable, and
That's totally different from the budget, though. In other words, one could have
I guess
be reasonable, and then
Mr. Nolen, just point me to the language on page 7 that you're talking about, so we can.
it starts out cost to fix, and then
I don't see that. Are you talking about reasonable modifications could be made and the cost of such modifications would not exceed their benefits? Paragraph 5 on page 7?
I believe you used the word budget.
You might be right. I'm not seeing that here. If you are right, you need to tell me.
I marked it, as I said, with the short duration that you've given me, how many minutes to review this thing?
I gave it to you at noon, for the record. So you had the entire lunch hour.
And I had to try to do this other research for him with his stuff.
Well, let me just say that if the language in paragraph 5 on page 7 is what you're concerned about, I am relying on 28 CFR 35.151.
Could you hold up? I can't read that fast and listen to you and
Go ahead.
just give me a second.
I will.
Five, that if they are not readily accessible and usable, there are reasonable modifications. First off, I think you should define what reasonable and what modification is as opposed to repair. That could be made, and that the cost of such modifications would not exceed their benefits. That's so vague. In other words, again, if you want to get technical, I believe Ms. Lauderville testified that 20% of the population is disabled. She wouldn't break it down any further. So one could assume that if 80% of the people...
Okay. You can argue that to the jury, but I think this correctly states the law.
Well, there's no way that I can turn around and put my summation together at this last minute. Now, with all this stuff, as complicated as this case is, and I'm sure there's no doubt that it's complicated, I just can't physically do it.
Okay. So what are you asking me to do?
Well, you're going to put this thing over to Monday, perhaps do the summations on Monday.
What is your position on that, Mr. Groff?
we'd object, Your Honor.
Okay. So, you know, when people prepare for trial, I expect them to, in advance, prepare their closing argument. They know what there are, I mean,
Your
especially the
Honor,
plaintiff.
we're back to the same story about my access to the law library.
Okay, but Mr. Nolen, you knew what your case was going to be. I know things come out a little different at trial, but generally speaking, people prepare their closing arguments in advance. And they are ready to modify them quickly if they need to, but they're ready to go. So
That's it for an attorney, but you're not a pro se.
I understand that, and I'm trying to accommodate as much as I can, but the same rules do apply to you, and I am going to go forward tonight.
I beg your pardon, Your Honor, but there's cases concerning the ADA that relate to pro se litigants that have mental, physical, and other accessibility issues, including the ability to be able to ask somebody to come outside and pick up my stupid papers and file them. And if I've got to spend 2.5 to 3 days trying to find somebody because my assistant over here that I need isn't available, and in terms of cranking out papers.
Mr. Nolen, as I said, if you had said, Judge, I'm going to need a break every hour. If you
I did that.
if
I did that.
And I said, when we started, anytime you need a break, just ask. You have not asked once during the trial.
Because I haven't eaten since 5 o'clock yesterday
Okay.
afternoon, except
That is, that's not something I can do anything about. But my point is, I told you could have breaks if you wanted them, you didn't request them. If you had asked me to make this a 4-day trial instead of a 2-day trial, so that you would have extra time.
I believe I did. I did precisely
Please.
that.
Please don't interrupt me. You may be right and I may be wrong. I do not believe that you did. I generally always grant people additional time if they ask for it. If you had said, as an accommodation, I need more time, I need to end at 3 o'clock each day, I have done that with other people, I would respond to those requests. At this point, it's too late to make those changes. The jury is only...
And I say,
okay?
I made those requests orally and in writing, and you got copies of them.
All right, and I may be forgetting something, and if so, I apologize. But
Tell it to
I
the
am going
Commission
to go
on
out...
Judicial Conduct.
Okay, I am going to go consider the one question I've left open. The issue about the difference. I will send out to you my revised version to look at as soon as
Your Honor,
I've
there's
done
no
that.
way I can proceed with the lack of food, the lack of sleep, all the way. Again, I'm going to ask for a reasonable accommodation to basically get this over till Monday.
The problem with that is I am scheduled on about 20 other matters, I believe, on Monday. You see, it's fine to come back to that.
That's your problem. That's not my problem as a
Nolen,
woman to get adequate access
let me
to the
finish.
courts.
I said earlier, and I said today, as I had told the jury, we might need to come back on the next business day for them to finish their deliberations. We can do that because they are in a different room deliberating while I am doing my other hearings. I have a whole day. It's actually now too late to even contact people to cancel all those other hearings on Monday, even if I wanted to, because it's after 4:30.
But you've done it with me. You've canceled, this court has canceled hearings
All right.
the last minute for me too. So
Mr. Nolen, I am not going to, I just can't do it, all right? I can't make it work. If you had let me know earlier, I would have, but I can't. So, you have time now to do some preparation, both of you, while I'm working on this other issue.
All right. May be seated.